Oh ho everybody, Dusty Circuit here. And I apologize for not really uploading that frequently lately. Just I've been kind of busy yet again. And so basically in ACO here we're kind of in some or at least I am kind of in some kind of difficult times that actually are kind of impinging quite a bit on my abilities to play on the server. Well, it's basically so if you haven't really, if you haven't seen my Player of the Month video, my latest one, basically the farm team has kind of gotten I don't even know. I'm not sure what the best term to use, but what's I think kind of it's gotten more members, and it's we've even kind of just discussed guidelines to basically kind of say like if a certain build has more than this number of hoppers or this number of whatever, it's basically to submit it for review by the farm team. And that the farm team it was the compromise that the admins basically decided to still allow players to kind of do redstone and automation on ACO, but not to keep it in check and not allow it to lag the server. And it was basically either we do this or the admins actually come up with rules, like actual rules, but and then of course update the site with those new rules that govern redstone use or farm use. And of course once that happens, you can't really go back. So that's basically kind of what's been going on, and really how it's been affecting me is I probably have to be one of the biggest users of redstone on the server. Like I could probably name I could probably count just on one of my hands, probably one of probably the other players that use redstone as much as I do, or close to as much as I do. And you know that even go the extra mile to have tons of automation in their own bases, and and even I went the extra mile to basically, it's like I have to space out most of my redstone in my farms. So this is basically, so on my base, of course this is voxel map. So it's basically you enter my base in this portal room. And then you can either go into my lobby, or there's this tunnel which then goes down to that tunnel, which leads to kind of my mining area, which is somewhere over there. And of course right now I have my guardian farm. That is my personal XP farm, or one of my personal XP farms. And my storage room, or what's currently my storage room, and my auto smelter. But I am planning on taking my sorter, my storage, and my my sorting storage in my auto smelter, and then putting them in separate areas. Like, I'm thinking of putting the auto sorter like over here somewhere, and auto smelter would go down here. And then this area would kind of, I guess, just kind of be repurposed into more of like a hub of sorts, just to kind of tie all those areas together. Or I guess kind of a sub lobby of my base. And maybe I might still have like a small smelter, like say if I just literally need to smelt like a stack of things, and then get out, or I could have that in there. But I really want to keep the hopper count in this part of the base low, so that I could just go and it's like I can go through my base and not have to worry about lagging TPS on the server. And like all my high or potentially high lag areas are gonna be all separate. And like at the far ends of my base, so that for the most part this central area is safe to enter, even during like 20 players or more on the server. And really the goal is to have most of my base lag free, or very not enough lag to affect the TPS, except for possibly this farm and also my mob farm, which is over here. But I would like to relocate that, because if I put my sorter here, that mob farm is going to be loaded. And I'm not too worried about it, because this mob farm doesn't do anything unless it's actually running, and the hopper count there is very low. It's the entire farm is basically hopper free, except for a hopper clock in the very top of the farm, which has 4 hoppers, and kind of at the bottom of the farm, a sorting system for the items, which is probably 30, 40 hoppers or so. And like right now, I think my base is actually pretty good. Like generally doesn't cause lag problems. But I do want to be proactive and make sure that's gonna still be the case. Because last thing I want is to represent the farm team badly, or even have the admins put rules in place because my base causing lag on the server. So that's just kind of more or less where I am right now, and I mean, if that's not already enough of a kind of a noose around my neck right now, I also have this whole conundrum over here, which is like, this is literally a problem that's been plaguing me since, like, heck, like probably basically I think last Christmas. Or basically, Dan's mother, or I think she goes by Super Girly, and basically she's just been like, she used to actually claim these islands over here. Like, she put bases. She literally would just have builds on all these islands, which just was not cool because that's basically right on my doorstep. And even this over here, I'm not too. I'm not really that crazy about. And Blue said she just would move all this stuff and just regenerate the area, but I don't know if she's just been busy, but it's like basically my mod regs haven't been like, they're still all open, and I think I submitted them probably 5 days ago. So I've been waiting quite a little while. It's probably been a week now. So, and about my mob farm, I would like to add functionality to it where basically, like, I'd also like to have a creeper only spawning, so that not only I can get more gunpowder for my fireworks shop, and and also TNT for my farms that will use it, and for other applications that will use it. But also because I would like to get into selling records or music discs. And those are probably gonna sell like uh hotcakes, because basically, of course, everyone who's on HCO who's watching my videos kind of knows, we love our events and our music packs to go along with such events. And I bet a lot of people actually still keep them loaded so that they can listen to the music whenever they want. And if I were to sell music discs, then they'll be able to literally, people could just buy them from me, and then they will get to listen to the music packs whenever they want. That's definitely gonna be another big profit source for me. But I don't really care very much about the profits, like with my shops. Like, I'm more in it to like provide a service for the server, and which is just why I set my prices very low. And I generally use prices more as like a metering method in order to prevent like one player from buying all my stock. And also a lot of players use the same currency in order to purchase items from their shops. So basically, since I'm making money with my own shop, I could use the other players' shops if I so desire, which is another benefit. So that's just kind of where I've been lately, and it's like I really want to become more active on ECO, but it's like I'm kind of stuck in I'm still stuck in that sort of limbo with my base, because it's, as soon as Super Girly stuff gets moved, I'm going to make an actual like fence like around my whole area to basically let other players know this is my area and not to build here. And really part of the reason I'm so stingy about my build area is it's basically what I don't want my well more than anything else I don't want other players to be loading in my like if I have farms in my base I don't want other players loading them during high high player counts like I don't want my farms to be loaded by other players during peak hours and contribute to server lag. And last thing I want is admins to come knocking for all because one of my farms is being loaded by another player when I'm not on. And I've literally had that fiasco happen to me once on AC and on Autcraft, and I don't want that happening again. So yeah. And of course, as you can see, of course, ACO is now on the 1.16 updates, and I guess you can tell from my decor. And basically, I just wanted to kind of add some of the new blocks in, but I more or less kind of like the way my portal room looks the way it is, and I didn't want to change it too much. So basically I just added some of the new blocks in here and there, but I still more or less kept the original theme. I feel like I did a pretty good job with this, and feel free to, if you guys ever watching, if ever have suggestions for me to possibly add to this or improve it, let me know in the comments. And yeah. I mean, I've had this portal room since Atlantis was still was still well in use. So yeah, and I believe actually the Dawnster was the one to light it, which kind of says a lot about how old this build is. And yeah. So, and I mean, this is really kind of a bit of a trying era for us, kind of for us redstone people on ACO, because like this is the highest player count ACO's had like ever. Like so if memory serves, like basically ACO kind of beat its basically what its last like peak player count would have been, like when it first opened, and by now we're probably 5-6 times that, and we're still growing. And of course with Atlantis we've already ran into TPS problems, and even today a lot of players, we were still having the TPS problems because a lot of players have their own personal builds. And I mean, my base is cool and all with all its farms, but say if 10 other players had my level of farms in their base, or perhaps more. And you know, that really adds up. And it's like, you know, like when I first joined Autcraft, I was still very much like playing as if I was still in single player mode. And like basically I would just, it's like my kind of my thought process for a lot of my builds back then was just to keep building like I did in single player. And unfortunately, I don't even, my single player world got lost long ago because I may have been dumb enough to load the world in a snapshot without making a backup beforehand. And let's just say it happened to be one of the really glitchy ones that actually would corrupt your world. And yeah, that was the end of that world. But basically in that world, I kind of... What originally actually spurred me on to the large farms, I say it was probably a combination of like watching Mumbo on the Hermitcraft, and there was just one other YouTuber that I watched a lot that actually I don't even hear that like a lot of people talk about. Like it's but that doesn't mean he's a small YouTuber. Like I think even back when I watched his content, I think he was probably 50,000 subscribers or even 100,000 or so. But he goes by Daedalus822, I believe, and he even and like farms were his thing, and it's like literally he had worlds where he'd build like were literally dedicated to farms, and he even had a Let's Play series that was he called it Go Big, the Build Big or Go Home series, where basically, of course, he'd build farms that, let's just say, you know, they're probably bigger, they were bigger than a lot of the farms even on Hermitcraft, but there's still even some farms on the SciCraft server that are still even bigger than his farms were. But it's like basically the kind of farm where you press a button and you get 3 double chests of crops, like in one, kind of in one harvest, and it was all automatic too. And yeah, and of course in that single player world I had it's like I started it like back in, I think it was like back when 1.5 was still a thing. Probably, I think maybe even the 1.6 update I think came shortly after I started that world. And I had it up until 1.8 because it was one of the 1.8 snapshots that actually killed that world. And basically I didn't do single player since. It's like, you know, it's like a couple of months after I lost that world, my sister actually stumbled upon Autcraft's website and suggested that I join the server because she saw it may have been that would have been up my alley. And you know, and of course I think like a couple weeks later I joined, and you know I just kind of did my thing for like the next like 5, 6 years, and here we are today, and the rest is history. And you know, but it's like back in the old days where like probably my first 2 years on Artcraft, I was basically building. You know, of course, if you watch my series, like all my builds I did on Artcraft, you'll kind of know all about this, where it's basically it's like I was really like this like kind of dead focused on farms. And it's like I built my base and then I built a bunch of farms. And and then and even like post world reset, I was still that way. And then comes a time when I graduate from school and then I suddenly have all the free time I could ever have wanted. And as a result of that, the scale of my projects skyrockets, and even basically go to the points where they are actually threatening the server. And yeah, but it's like really the only large farm that ever caused issues that ever broke the server in quote marks was that wither farm. And really all the other farms were just the admins saw how many villagers I was using, or how many hoppers I was using or whatever, and then was like, Dusty, cut that out, you're breaking our rules. And and yeah, and that was really kind of a big part of that was really the kind of a driving move for me to move over to ACO, because even to this day ACO doesn't have hopper rules, but even though we were close to getting them. And of course, when I first joined ACO, especially, which is kind of during a bit before the silent era, I could have actually, during the silent period, I could have built basically this whole base that we're in right now. I actually had planned it out on a creative world. Actually, uh, basically kind of prior to actually Autism Father stopping his Let's Play on ACO, and that really just kind of marked the beginning of the silent era, because that was when a lot of players started leaving the server because there was just nothing going on, and and really for a while Autism Father's Let's Play was really the only thing keeping it afloat. And then when he went away, that's really when things kind of started to look grim for ACO. But of course, thanks to the efforts of Just Blue 333, this server is, and I guess really the whole community actually, but she was kind of the one to really get it started, because she was really pushing AF to give ACO the love it oh so terribly needed. And then it was us, the players, to carry it on from there. And yeah, but like back then, I basically could build like giant farms and get away with it, because it's really me and like probably 3 other players that were really only ever on the server at a time. And of course, ACO's actually have had a couple of upgrades, like actual hardware upgrades since then. But really the player base has grown to the point where it's like the upgrades don't really mean players can have more redstone and like in their bases. It's just like means the server has more room to grow for more players. And of course, basically, then and then the revival period began when Just Blue 333 and TK Dubsta returned to ACO, and then of course BB followed suit soon after them, and then I think probably around. I think I might have actually came on before BB did, but it's like, yeah. And then Atlantis happens, and at first it really kind of took ACO out of the grave, and got more players on to playing on ACO, but unfortunately now Atlantis is officially deceased. Like for a while it was like it was just in limbo, and it's like it was like basically even though the sorter and everything was all torn out, there's and a lot of the lag was reduced there. There was still apparently lag there, and it's as if ghosts from the past were still there and still causing TPS drops, even though there's no more redstone. And basically, it just of course, now Atlantis has been reduced down to the villager trading hall, and there's literally nothing else left. I guess except for the old hub, or the old lobby, but that's now BB's base. And yeah. But of course, now we live in a time where it's I mean, we still don't have rules yet limiting redstone, but of course we all have to, of course, us the players have to really be mindful of what we use or what we build. And kind of wait for a player like me, that's kind of really hard because it's like once you get used to building the large scale farms, it's just like going back to what admins would consider a normal sized farm for like a personal for one player as opposed to an entire server. It's like it really feels like a big downgrade. And it's just, for me as a player, I often just use my redstone skills to supplement my building skills because I'm just not really that great with really highly detailed builds, and it's like it's like I have a hard time even getting inspiration for the stuff. And really the inspiration that drove this base was that I had built a base like it back on Autcraft, and it was the third base that I had built before the It was the last base I built before the world reset on Craft, and it's just I kind of missed that base, and I decided that I wanted to rebuild that on ACO, and that's exactly what I did. But kind of in an alternate turn of events, I could have well built this back in the silent era, and literally build it exactly how I want, and like big auto sorting, lots of farms, lots of automation, and then we're probably get away with it for quite a while. Uh, say for probably a lot of lost FPS on my end, but I probably could have made it work. But then when the revival period came around, and Atlantis would have became a thing. Say if I was at my base and people were at Atlantis, the server definitely would have tanked. And and it got pretty bad even when Atlantis still existed. And if my base and Atlantis, like if I had a base bigger than even Atlantis was, just kind of imagine the impact on the server. Yeah. And it's like, and where I am today, like I have learned my lessons about like about farms and like how big to build farms, and like basically how much is too much redstone or how much is too much hoppers. But it's like, and even with auto sorters, like I still have a single player. What was for a period of time, I actually had a server that I actually would host on my computer, and then, but it was really only for I literally only invited probably, I think maybe only 3 players in total ever got invited to it, and of course they're players that I trust, and basically on that world I had built I ended up building 2 rather large auto sorters, like intended for basically for a whole base automation, where to have all the items in the game being auto sorted. And let's just say if I were to build either of them today, everyone would notice, and I would have the admins knocking on my. I would have the admins come knocking, and of course, even if I would have built them back when I designed them, the server still would have tanked because I was back when Atlantis was still existing. And so it's like it started when I designed just a regular auto sorter, but it was a more compact one that would have the chests in a more compact arrangement, so you don't have to have it on multiple floors. And I basically I sized that to be able to sort 500 items. But the sorter in Atlantis was 300 items, and my sorter that I had on Autcraft that caused massive lag there was 384 items. So yeah. And I even came up with basically a whole nother sorter that was kind of my attempt at recreating what Etho had built in his Let's Play world that he dubbed the Nexus, which is basically his mass sorting system that you also could request items from. And but that thing also would have caused massive lag because I think it even had more hoppers in it than the other sorter had. And then basically I was like, okay, I'll compromise on a more reasonable just sorter. And of course this design number 3 I actually did build in my base. And it was but it was still probably had like probably 1,500 hoppers in it. And then let's say I go to start using it one day, and even this was like the first time I was to use it, the maiden voyage. I don't know if that even was the right term, but it's basically like I go to use it for the first time. Like I put all my items in for them to be auto sorted. I even add extra chests as an input because I was just too lazy to carry items into where the storage room was, and I even ran an entire hopper chain across my base. And let's just say, just even running it, like even when not very many, even during the off-peak hours, that still brought the server to like around 18 TPS. And I mean, and it's like, well, that doesn't seem like all that bad. Like even for like what a player's base to be doing that, that's not exactly acceptable. And where basically Blue says a build cannot drop TPS by 0.2. And yeah. So I had to tear out that system, and I even had to wait for a time when there was less players on, which would have been like 11 o'clock at night for me, and then that was when I was able to log on to start tearing that down. And then I settled upon the design that I had in my storage room that used the multi-item sorters, which of course was also another improvement, but that's probably used around 300 or 400 hoppers, which of course is a big improvement, but even that's still quite a bit of hoppers. And that system actually never really caused many problems, but proactively I decided to still remove it because I just I don't want another incident where my base causes lag and the admins take action. And I even had one other incident where I literally had a trap like in this section that was like a carpet trap with the signs placed with carpet on top over a giant pit. And then, of course, at the bottom of that pit, I had like, I think probably 40 arrow dispensers all hooked up to a redstone clock. That was like a rapid fire clock, even. And of course, I kind of decided to jump in and to the trap and see how long it actually would, how long it would take you to die. And I pretty much died like in probably 2 seconds, but basically, you know, I guess we know what happened next. It's basically, you know, those arrows piled up so fast that it literally got to the point where my game would just was probably, I was like at one FPS, 2 FPS, and I think Blue even reported the server TPS went down to probably 5. Yeah, that was pretty bad. But if anything, Blue actually kind of thought it was hilarious. Like if anything. But I mean, I guess if she was also serious, like remove that thing. But which I did. And I don't know if I'm probably ever gonna have traps in this space. It's like I never built this space to be like a secure bunker of any sort. It's like it's like this base was just meant to be like big and grand. And like if anything, just kind of reflecting of my personality as a player and my play style and yeah. And I've had the idea to even design a second base with the sole purpose of having lots of traps in it to make it more difficult for my hitman to reach me in Hitman and yeah. And I actually kind of have that already in the form of this build here. But this build actually ended up not getting used because its original purpose it's not serving its original purpose anymore. Because this actually, I meant this to be part of that Let's Play with that one player that basically I was friends with, but of course they got banned for obvious reasons, and some players may remember them, but we've gotten lots of new players since then, and let's say that just ended up being a toxic friendship that I just had to get out of. And of course then this build just ended up never being used for anything. I'm actually thinking about possibly turning it into my second base, but I never got around to it. And just to all you you know, to I guess to everyone of my kind of my similar play style on ACO, and you know, and then of course to all farm team members. These are kind of some trying times, and like I believe if we all work together, we're gonna make this right, and you know we're we should, and we're all of us basically can live in harmony, and you know of course keep this an environment where that basically we're hardcore players like me, and uh kind of I don't even know how like I guess I could say noobs, but that's kind of could be offensive to some people, but it's like, you know, of course, be like a server where hardcore players and simple players would still be happy together. And yeah. And you know, we're all in this together, and my you know, my heart goes out to all to all my kind of fellow like farm builders, redstoners, etc. And kind of about the farm team is it's basically the goal of it is to, you know, of course by reviewing builds if they go over the guidelines, and it's just to basically because it's the guidelines are they're not rules per se, but it's like it's suggestions for, you know, if you're under this amount of hoppers or whatever, more than likely your build's not going to affect the server. But if if you have more than so and so hoppers or so and so redstone or so and so entities, so submit your farm for review, and because it's like, is there certain applications where certain blocks, if used correctly, even if they're over the guidelines, that doesn't mean that the farm will tank the server, and that's basically kind of that's basically what the farm team's role is to just keep redstone in check without us having to set rules. And in my mind, it just makes sense for ACO, because we're very much trust driven, and I really like this this kind of that us the players have more of a say than we would on Artcraft, and it's not necessarily what the admin says goes, and it's just and it's like no matter what happens, I'm forever grateful to be part of this community, and it's more about, and it's more than the community extends more to more than just the server. It's also the Discord server, and And it's basically, even if I'm not online on ACO, I have Discord basically on my second screen at all times. Well, mostly just because I kind of like to have it there. And it's basically, I get to, even if I'm not online, I could still socialize with everyone on Discord. And it's like we even have players that play other games, and there's even a couple players that play the same games as I do, which is kind of cool. And so even I, have at least a couple people with common interests, which is really cool. And it's like ACO's Discord. I mean, Altcraft does have the Patreon Discord, but I mean, I've never really been in it because I've just been being an ACO member already. I just kind of don't want to put more money, I just spend more money when I don't have to. And it's basically, like, from what I hear, the Patreon server is just not really as active, and not very many people even voice chat. And yeah, and that basically ACO's Discord just blows it away. And it's like the fact that we have voice chats, and even streaming, even if it's games only, just like even having it period is nice. And yeah, and that it's literally, we have channels for, by now we basically have channels for nearly every topic under the sun. And it's like, really, it doesn't matter what you're, what kind of person you are, or, as long as you're not harmful to others, you're welcome. And you know, and it's just really insane, like, just how diverse of a community even ACO in of itself really is. And you know, and I guess I'm definitely one of the minorities, I feel, because I'm more into the, like, I'm very much like into tech, and even some of my gaming kind of reflects that interest. And of course, I love my redstone, and my farms. And but of course, the majority of players are not really tech people, and of course are into things like sports and art and music. And but it's just kind of the diversity that the ACO community has now. It's it's kind of blows me away. And I mean, it's like we've grown so much now that, you know, I'm gonna have at least a couple of people that I have common interests with. And perhaps even I could probably name 3 players that I have a lot of things in common with. And And unfortunately, they're not very active players, and you know they have their own lives going on where I don't really. I still don't even have a job yet, and of course I can't get a job right now because of the whole human malware that's going on, and you know, and yeah, but it's like even though this isn't a real job, it's like I have so many things, like even being with the farm team and with uh and doing all my stuff on ACO or like providing for the community. It's like that feels like that's my job almost. And you know, I'm just I'm really lost for words right now. And yeah, and you know, and it's just no matter. And it's just like even like no matter what happens, it's just I'm always gonna be grateful for being a part of this great community. And I know, and it's gonna be hard probably for another probably the next week or so because it's another thing. It's of course I didn't mention also with the farm team the the submissions is basically there's a big backlog of submissions for where it's basically players that submit all their builds and for review. And let's just say a couple of my next builds I may have to submit them as well. And it's just right now I'm just kind of waiting for a lot of the submissions like for the line of submissions to get shorter. So then, you know, when I do mine, I don't really have to wait as long. And of course, it's going to be just chaotic right now because you know if you're trying to basically take an entire server and like change their behavior enough where the server can still function. Uh, you know, there's and even do it within a certain time span. You know, you're gonna have hiccups and it's not gonna be a smooth road. And it's like there's even players that are like even really paranoid and then they're like Blue, is this too much is this too many hoppers? Is this too many mobs? And it's just you know, it's like it's I mean if we all work together and just through the ACO spirit, we can get through this. I believe in I believe in you all. And it's just I don't really know what else to say. It's just this is just kind of an impromptu video and ended up rambling on again. And you know, I appreciate all you guys that watch and And it's just I really don't script these videos, and let's just say I didn't get very much sleep today, and I just kind of went off of whatever was in my head at the time. But you know, I believe in ACO to be able to get through this, and you know, if we work together, I think it'll all be great in the end. And 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 just my heart goes out to all my fellow farm team members and redstone and farm builders. And so, anywho, thank you all for watching. I know this has been a bit of a long video, and I don't know if I'll be able to keep this promise, but I'll try my very hardest, and I'm gonna bring you more content soon. I've just been kind of tied up in all what's been going on, and it's just, whenever drama happens, I just get, I just really kind of, basically I just burn up all my energy being scared, and then I don't have any more energy left to really do what I want to do. And that's kind of been the dilemma I've been in. And so anyway, thank you all for watching, and remember to rate, comment, like, and subscribe. And this has been Dusty Circuit here, and peace out. Bye.